often people would hear something like what you said and something that I share in the book at the beginning and sort of think that willpower um, is sufficient. Like if I just want this bad enough. And what I have found in my life is I mean, anybody who has any kind of mental health issue or struggles with anxiety or depression, and Alice, you mentioned that, you can't will it away. And so even if you didn't, want to do these practices or other practices to help with this, eventually, I think as you grow older, you realize, okay, well, there's no other option. God is going to have to do this, and I want to partner with Him in it. I want to be open, but He's going to have to do this work. And I love that.
Kelly, I'm struck by earlier you said the more we bring before God, the more our thirst is resolved. And then you said, I know that's still metaphorical. I don't have words for it. And I'm struck in your book. You identify that paradox that so much of the practice of the modern practice of faith is intellectualized, right? There are doctrines that we affirm, and there are beliefs about God that we profess, and there are things about God that we try to comprehend and understand. And yet, a feature of your book is that the practices that you craft and commend throughout the book are more embodied. They don't defy an intellectual faith, but they don't they're not bound to an intellectual faith. And I wonder if you could talk about the role of our bodies in our spirituality.
I'm glad you asked that, because I was feeling like that was missing in our conversation. This is just, this is the most important part of the book, I feel like, is the incorporation of our bodies into our faith life. So I think so much of our faith in the Western world is so mental. It's assent to things, or even it's a working out of things in our brains. And as I mentioned, like, you see something beautiful and you want to make it into a spiritual metaphor that is intellectual. And the practices get at this idea. So if you think about anxiety, shame, fear, brokenness, it all happens in our bodies. Like when I'm on a plane and I'm feeling anxiety, I'm not thinking, although I am too, but gosh, I'm really anxious, and my body's just relaxed. My body is shaking on the inside. My hands are sweating. My legs are hopping. I've got a headache. I can't focus. So there's all these things going on in my body. So it's sort of absurd to think that you would resolve those bodily things with your mind. Like, what if we just decided, oh, yeah, my body is involved in this, and I'm going to bring that into alignment with God somehow. And that's what these practices are. So my favorite, well, I like them all because they've all been so important to me. But one of my favorites is digging in the dirt. And this is like, think of the spiritual metaphors here that you could come up with, like the life in the soil and the leaves and the branches and the vines and all the things that we see in scripture, which are beautiful. And and as I was writing that, I was thinking, okay, don't do that. Don't draw any metaphors. Just the whole point is to have your body immersed in the earth. And that's it. And see what happens in your heart and in your body and in your mind as you participate in this very fundamentally human task of digging in the dirt, of growing vegetables, of watering things, of doing the things that are caring for the earth, which is what we were sort of made to experience. And the question I feel like is always coming from someone or in my own head is like, what does it mean? And I just want to say, I don't know. It might mean nothing at all. The important part is getting your body engaged in it, because there's something that opens spiritually when our bodies are engaged. This is part of turning over our whole selves, as Paul would say, as a living sacrifice.